and welcome to this theater talk for Liberation by Bess Wohl. My name is Jess Mount, and I am a teaching artist with Roundabout Theater Company's Education Department.
And I'm Amy Whitting, and I'm also a teaching artist at Roundabout. And we are here today to discuss the world premiere of Liberation, our first impressions of the script, and what we hope to look out for when we see the production.
Liberation is set in the 1970s and now. In the 70s, 6 women meet to form a consciousness-raising group to talk about their personal experiences with oppression and raise consciousness about the oppression women face. 50 years later, one of their daughters tries to figure out and understand where it all fell apart.
It's a very personal exploration by the talented Tony-nominated playwright Bess Wohl and directed by another Tony nominee, Whitney White.
I love getting to interact with new scripts and see how they develop over time. Like you said, it's a world premiere, so neither of us have seen the show up on its feet, but we've had a lot of time to interact with the script. And I'm excited to be in conversation with you today as women from 2 different generations who grew up with different societal conversations around gender, which will influence how we perceive and make meaning of the piece. So I'm curious, Amy, what were your first impressions of Liberation?
One of my first impressions of the script was right off the bat in the stage directions. Bess writes that the play takes place in 1970 and recently and now.
Okay, I was also fascinated by the stage directions. The show starts with the main character, Lizzie, telling the audience that she's going to share a story about her mother, who she will be playing, and telling us that the story is going to travel across time periods.
And I love that it does. And I love she sets that up right away because it made me think of my own mother and her experience as a woman, particularly in the 1960s when she was in college. She had a choice to either become a nurse or a teacher. Those were her 2 choices. She was also a brilliant artist, but during that time, doing something outside of those professions or motherhood was considered a radical act, actually. And so the time jumps in the play make me really think about, how far we have come, where we are at today, but where we still need to go.
Right. I mean, I have to acknowledge how deeply the content of the show sat with me in the current climate of what it means to be a woman. And I'm also thinking about the people in my life that have come before me, like my grandmother, who was at home and never had a credit card, to my mom, who really valued her career and was not a stay-at-home mom, to myself living in this uncertainty of the future of reproductive freedom. And especially as a queer woman who wants to be a mother, what does this mean for my future and the future of a potential daughter? And this time fluidity in the piece makes me think of this concept of generational liberation and the legacy we leave for the people who come after us.
Oh, I love that. I love generational liberation. You're also going to be a wonderful mother. I am not a mother, and I'm a woman of a certain age where society looks down upon that still, and I'm also unmarried, which I love that Bess has a representation of a woman like me on stage, so I can see that reflected back to me, which is something that is really striking about the play. I still think our society does think of unmarried women without children as these cat ladies who are really lonely. But let me tell you, I am not lonely. I have a wonderful life.
Liberation really makes you think about how far we've come, but how much we're still fighting for. There's a moment in the show that I particularly love where the character Susan has this dream where she talks about what she calls her Womanifesto. So I want to share that quote with you. She says, "We define the best interest of women as the best interest of the poorest, most insulted, most abused woman on earth. Her lot, her suffering, and abuse is the threat men use against all of us to keep us in line." She ends by saying that she is every woman. Until every woman is free, no woman will be free. After some research, she discovered that this quote is actually from an essay written in 1970 by New York radical women.
I love that. Until every woman is free, no woman can be free. which is very much still the case today. And Bess is tackling a very large topic that she acknowledges does not hold all of the voices in the play. She is writing from a very specific experience as a white woman and a mother and a daughter. And the other thing, though, that really excites me is that in the production team, we have director Whitney White, who is a Black woman. And so we'll be able to also see how her lived experience informs the conversation of the play.
Yeah, and something to think about is the expansion of voices we see in the conversation today. I'm thinking about trans women and non-binary folks and women of color who didn't have the same visibility at the time liberation takes place.
Absolutely, and that's very much the conversation around second wave feminism.
Right, it was a time period that really focused on the interest of cis, white, middle-class, straight women. You think about Black women who in second wave feminism were in a political climate that was asking them to choose between fighting racism or sexism. You don't see Black women in the same leadership roles or having their voices lifted up in the same way.
Absolutely, and I don't know about you, but right now, coming off of this contentious election where there were a lot of women's issues that were on the ballot in 2024, I'm really curious about how this play will land with the audience today, but I also am really hopeful because theater really creates conversation, and I think this play is going to create some meaningful conversations.
Well said. Before we wrap up today, we want to leave you with a quote that we feel embodies the complexities of the conversation around women's rights. In 1969, Carol Hanisch, a radical feminist, wrote an essay called "The Personal is Political."
Hanisch, when referring to consciousness-raising groups, such as the one in the play, she stated, "One of the first things we discover in these groups is that personal problems are political problems. There are no personal solutions at this time. There is only collective action for a collective solution. I've been forced to take off the rose-colored glasses and face the awful truth about how grim my life really is as a woman. I am getting a gut understanding of everything, as opposed to the esoteric, intellectual understandings and noblesse oblige feelings I had in other people's struggles."
And we will end there for now. For more information about Liberation and other Roundabout productions, you can check out our Upstage guide at roundabouttheater.org.
Thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you at the theater.